Here in Puerto Rico, look, if it seems sketchy, you are probably on the right path. I'd met someone who lived here, and I kind of was like, I'm gonna take advantage of this, and I just booked a trip. And I was like, hey, so by the way, I booked a trip. I'm gonna come to Puerto Rico. These are my dates. I decided to ask for forgiveness instead of permission. You want to try something, just do it. Nothing is stopping you other than you. I'm telling you, I beat all the pros. There were only 2 women that came across that finish line with 100% obstacle completion, and I was one of them. She had a little tear. You hit me. You hit me. I was like, why'd she do that? Why'd she do that? But it's just because I'm in a space right now where I'm always like, well, what would 16-year-old me think? I'm just telling just the one person that's here, but I'm announcing it for all that I'm going to be naked.
I am so happy to bring a lifelong friend that I have not caught up to probably 4 or 5 years. Has it been that long?
It's definitely been a while.
We met because of her sister. I was connected with her sister to begin with, and then somehow we ended up on a floor mat in the most popular Pilates class, I guess.
Yeah.
In Gold's Gym in Wilmington, North Carolina, and she became my accountability partner in that class, and she has gone on to do bigger and better things, and I cannot wait to get caught up with you and how the audience get caught up with us. But thank you for joining me today, Aimee.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So I actually even want to just take a little moment right here and say, I go by Aimee. So
I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
and no, and you wouldn't know that because, honestly, that's also part of my story, which is kind of fun, I guess. For a really long time, I went by my last name, which is Flint. And interestingly, through fitness, my first name came back. But as we'll be learning more about, I currently live in Puerto Rico. And when I moved to Puerto Rico, I was determined just to be by my last name. And part of why it is my name is Aimee. So many times if I say my name is Aimee, the first thing you do is write AMY. My whole life, I have never known who she is. I don't know why everybody thinks that she is me, and I've never truly felt connected to my own name. And interestingly, moving to Puerto Rico, when places like their DMV would, they'd need to call me, they would call me Aimee. And for the first time in my life, I was like, well, wait a minute. This is my name. And so it's kind of funny. I had some friends here already, and they knew me by Flint. And I was just like, all right, guys. So guess what? I'm going to change my name. And it's something where even when I'm out rock climbing, when I hear the name Aimee, like it sounds more like forward, where Aimee goes up. And like, I like forward. I like the energy of forward. And so it's funny how at this point it's been, it'll be coming on 3 years that I've gone by the name Aimee. And I would say that the island changed my name. But when I hear the name Aimee, I know somebody means me, but I'm like, it just doesn't resonate. And so I kind of was like, well, you know what? I'm like, we'll just put that on here. Why not?
Yeah.
'Cause it really is, something we were saying earlier about, going to different places and I don't know, it was literally an idea, coming to Puerto Rico. And not only did I make the idea a reality, There were just a variety of things that I didn't expect to take place. Things would be like, my name changing, and but it seemed very natural for me. So so I thought about that as we started, and I was like, you know what, it's fine. I'm gonna let it flow.
I'm just going to let her say it. And I was like thinking, did I pronounce her name incorrectly the entire time we were
No.
friends? And, but you know what? As soon as you said that, I can totally see that. And just watching you explain about it, like you lit up instantly about Aimee. Yeah, and I can totally see that. And again, this is why I love you and everything, is because you're so honest and transparent with everything. In ever since I've known you, you have been this authentic person, and you own the
Thank
person
you.
that you are. And you know, again, I'm sorry that we lost contact, but things happen, and
Oh,
I think
yeah,
it's great that we're here today to do this.
absolutely.
But okay, so we got to rewind a little bit here and hop back up to, I can't even say Puerto Rico the way that you can say it so sexy on there.
Well, thank
But
you.
take me back, all the way back to childhood, and tell me who you were as a kid that we can relate to who you are today.
I think determined to not fit in a box. I think that's probably the best way I could say it. As a child, um, I don't know, the like I said, we were kind of getting into this earlier, where I said, if I tell you, hey, I want to give you this hot dog, and the hot dog only gets ketchup, that's like, you do not put anything else on the hot dog but ketchup. That's what you believe. You know, and I'm this kid where I'm like, but there's mustard in the refrigerator. And they're like, no, 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 ketchup, ketchup. And I'm like, well, hold on. See, I like mustard though. I don't like ketchup. What about, can we try it? And they're like, no, 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 ketchup, ketchup, ketchup. And so I think what was probably what I can look back now on and just say how much I appreciate. She never stopped the fight. She never stopped the fight, and because of that, I get to authentically still be me. And yeah, I feel like if I were to look back like that, that would be what it is. It's just that I did not agree with the ketchup on the hot dog.
That sums up the whole childhood. I didn't want ketchup on my hot dog, and so this is who I am today.
Yeah, but
And mustard and relish and onions and chili and everything else that I want to put on my hot dog, and it might be different tomorrow.
yeah, well, and I think, I don't know, I kind of randomly just pulled the hot dog out of there, but and I think about, there's even, what is it, trolley stop in Wilmington, and how they have all the different things, and it's like, oh, well, maybe I wouldn't have considered that, and it gives you the ability to step out of the box. And I don't know,
Did you have
I've
the
always been a
freedom?
little defiant.
Did you have the freedom with your parents that you could be that authentic, or did they really try to push you back in the box?
Push me back in the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's because nothing like to discredit our parents, but that's the only thing that they knew. And if we think about how many decades that was,
Oh,
there wasn't, the world was probably still flat for our parents at
yeah.
that point, because
Oh,
they
absolutely.
didn't travel and do that. And I think that they did the best they could with how they thought things were supposed to go, right?
The thing is I guess I just look at it. I don't know, but my dad always had daughters. So there was nowhere for him to give boy energy to.
Yeah.
So, I think we have always been a little tougher because of that. Um, you know, and I just wasn't the image I think that my mom had of like a girl. Um, I didn't mind getting dirty. I didn't mind, being a little rough and tough. And yeah, I don't know. I think like I said, I just didn't fit in the mold of her idea of what her daughter would be like. And, and at the end of the day, I could be upset on one side, because hey, we all have our story. The thing is I've done the work, and so I can be on the other side and say to myself that, like, I appreciate the question that you asked, because I mean, I don't know if you noticed it earlier. She had a little
Yeah, you were
tear.
emotional.
You hit me. You hit me. I was like, why'd she do that? Why'd she do that? But it's just because I'm in a space right now where I'm always like, well, what would 16-year-old me think? What would she think? And even if it's 8-year-old me, whatever year old me, we want to talk about, like, I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't have that version. Same as, me living in Puerto Rico, there was a version of me that showed up here one day and had this idea, and I am here now. I sit here now. I sit on this chair right here now in front of you because she did that.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
So, did you go on to college, or did you like totally tear that box up too? Did you do the traditional?
No, I did not. Like, the thing is, there's so many layers of the whole growing up thing. I understood later in life that I have ADHD. But as a child, I just had problems reading. And, I was put into Sylvan Learning Center, and it was just something where, I just remember like not feeling comfortable in education. I think just because I learned differently, and it wasn't, the education system is meant for one person and then they just give it to all. And I took Japanese in high school. And that was the most interesting class I ever took in my life. I had an A the whole time, and it was just because of the way it was taught. It was very unique, and it just, I don't know. I have a difficulty like with learning. I'm much more hands-on. And so, I didn't end up doing the whole college thing because the general education system, I think, really just kind of turned me off. My father also, suggested like he would rather me get a degree in basket weaving than not get a degree at all. And that's not really encouraging communication. That just says, hey, just do something, and it's like, well, talk to me about what that something what feels good to me. Like, work on that something. And there are so many layers to these questions, so, but continue.
Well, okay. So I met you at Gold's Gym, and I don't know how we actually got introduced. Do you remember our first meeting?
And Annie, the only thing I would think, yes, I do. Because you were kind of just coming in there, but you were just starting Clean Eats. And it was like, hey, there's this person, she's doing this thing. I always remember your first day, like you didn't do the regular menu, you only did burgers. And because I just remember like we're eating burgers. And so, and I just remember meeting you like in the real beginning of you trying to open the business, expand
Okay.
on a starter level. To me, that is where my memories connect is, from that
Okay.
moment. But it was something where I think because I was already going to the class, it was just like, oh, okay, this person is a part of the community. And I like, I'm a very community person. Like you said earlier, the accountability buddy, that was my favorite part about those classes. I could not know your name, but I'd be like, see you on Thursday. And you're like, see you on Thursday, be like, save my spot. You're like, okay.
Well, my background, please.
Yeah. And so it was something where, you became friends just because you showed up at the same space at the same time on a regular basis. And, it just kind of gelled from that point forward, I think.
And you were managing a band at that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah,
You were
so-
actually touring and all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff.
Yeah. I was married to a music producer from Holland, and he came to the States. And when he got here, we started working a bit more on his career, and I spent a lot of time working on his career. And yeah, so like people would call me manager. My title was director of operations. And I think that really fit, because I covered everything, like whether it was, contacting the venues and getting dates put together, everything through that to selling merchandise at the end of the night. There were, Fonte, who is Nicolet's partner, he would call me the woman of 1,001 hustles because I just did everything. I really was very indirectly a third member that wasn't the group. So it was, I was very heavily invested in that at the time when we met.
And then, so you're doing the band, and then all of a sudden, rumor has it that you're on a Spartan reality show.
Yeah. Rumor was true.
And
Rumor was true.
I was like, how did she go from Pilates mats to Spartan races? Because I didn't know that version of you. And did you always do that? Or did I miss that version of your life? Where did that come from?
I guess I would say maybe yes and no. So when I started Pilates November 30, 2012, and within a week, a girl that I knew, I had seen she was going to do the Dirty Girl Mud Run. And I was like, oh, that looks like fun. And she said, you can join my team. So I said, okay. And it happened 3 months later. So it was fun. I had some time to kind of think about it. And literally from my approach to the first obstacle, I knew this was me. And it was just something
why?
Because I was already calculating it. I'm looking at people. So it was a triangle that was inflated, okay? And I was watching people going through it, and I was already like, what are they doing? How are they doing? How are they going through it? I was calculating my own approach with every single step as I got closer. And it just, I don't know. I started doing obstacle course races, honestly, as soon as I started, kind of getting at where I am now. I look at myself as an athlete. I don't believe I started as an athlete. But I was really doing the obstacle course races. I did them a lot. So that was in 2013. And I did them pretty consistent up until about 2017. When we did the show, we recorded it it was in December of 2015 in Atlanta. So temperatures were not always warm. And then it aired in June of 2016. So even that was something that was so cool with that is it just, I don't know. Like I couldn't even believe we got called. I couldn't even believe that we were accepted.
Did you audition?
You had to. So
Okay.
that particular show was run by the same producers as American Ninja Warrior. It probably didn't hurt that I had like a former person, somebody who had been on American Ninja Warrior. They were on my team. Maybe that helped. I don't really know. But what was very unique about our team were two things. One, we did not have a pro athlete on our team. We were all just like people that we knew. So there was every other team, all the other teams were made up of four, and they had a pro member. And we were made up of four, and here's Amber. And so we just said, Amber's our pro. And, so that was that. But also because of that, we were the only team, okay, on two levels, the only team that had 3 women and 2 men. Everybody else had 3 men and 2 women. And we
Awesome.
made it to like the semifinals. And even like our reason for coming out of the semifinals was due to injury, not due to look. That was a hard one. That was a hard pill to swallow, because what was incredible is like, we may not have been, like I said, one of the pro members, but man, we were such a strong team. And at the very end, we had to go over, they call it a slip wall because one side of it is like a little slick. And the wall, I think, was like 15 feet or something. It's huge. It's gigantic. And actually, I don't know. I think it's a little bit taller than that. I think it's like 20 feet. Like, I think it was like 20 feet. And so, we had to come up with a way to get all of us over this wall. And, what was really cool is the technique that we came up with got pretty used by many of the other teams. So it was just, it was really cool. It was such a cool thing to be a part of. And, but what you would also not know is if that feels like such interesting information, I have tested for American Ninja Warrior, many times. So, I've been in different cities. Let's see, I've done Miami, Atlanta, Baltimore, Las Vegas. There's another one in there. I know I'm missing it, but I've done at least those. And it's just cool. Like, those obstacles are gigantic. Like, you just see them at home. You have no clue. But you're up top, and everybody is way down low. They're huge. They are huge. So yeah, but
tell me, like, when you say that you tested, like you've gone and ran them.
Okay, what happens is they need people to test. Like, you and I are completely different, physically fit women. You're taller than me, so you're going to have different capabilities than I am. You train differently than me, so you're going to have different capacities than I do. We also have our own skill sets. And so they need different people to test it, because, like, what if you get on it and you did fine, but I get on it at my size, and they're like, oh, well, women who are shorter have a difficult time. Maybe we need to put a box. Maybe we need to put something there. But then, like, a guy goes through it and just destroys it. And they're like, okay, well, we have to make it equal for all athletes. So it's, a tester is really good because they get to just, they have different variety of bodies. And so they just constantly make all these different adjustments until they feel like, all right, it fits all people enough. It's challenging enough, but also, for somebody who might have a harder time, like I said, maybe they put a box or something for you to get up to it. But yeah,
How many times did you have to run it? How many times did you?
So what happens is they just kind of work on like an obstacle at a time, and it will happen over Daytona Beach. I knew there was another one, Daytona Beach. So they will work on like a different obstacle at a time, and sometimes they'll do the very beginning, like you'll start and you'll go across like the stepping stones or whatever it is that they have, and man, I have video of me from Atlanta, and I got to do those, which was cool because that was my first time like getting to try those. And because they don't need to test those, you know what I'm saying? They know how to do them. They have them at the beginning of all of them. They don't need to test them. But I, so I go, and I jump to the rope, and I'm like losing it, and then I just pull it together, and it was like like it feels so cool. It's like, oh, that's what I would have done on the show. I would have made it past the first obstacle. This is awesome. So
why didn't you, like, is your goal to be on one of the shows?
Well,
or you're just
I tried, but it's, the thing is, they do like 7 cities. They pick about 100 people per city, and they have, 100 times as many that apply. And the thing is it's not easy to get into it. Like there are ways, but it's hard. It's hard. Like, all the videos because you have to make a video. You don't just apply. You also have to make a video. And these questions are not easy questions. It's not like, tell us about your favorite color and why. No. It's like, who influenced you most as a child, dead or alive, and why did it matter? And blah, blah, blah. Like, they're hard questions, But the video, the first video that I ever did versus the last video that I ever did, man, there was so much growth, even from me, and like the way that I presented myself and the way that I put things together. And I just, I don't know. I applied a few times, but it's been a while. The last time I did it, I knew it would be the last time that I would apply. I don't really know. I don't know. I felt like I didn't know how to sell my story in another way, other than like what my true comeback was. And so, it's a hard show to get onto, period.
What is your favorite obstacle that you like? Do you have a favorite?
Yes. Low rigs. So what that means, like when you look at American Ninja Warrior, those obstacles are considered like a high rig obstacle, like something that's up and you're moving. Well, a low rig, imagine coming to an obstacle where you've got monkey bars. You're familiar with monkey bars being high, but now we're going to put the monkey bars at like chest height. And you've got to figure out, how do I get through the monkey bars? And you can't put your feet on the bars. Little stuff like that. So you're having to work in this really small, like really compact space. Man, I do real good on those. I like stuff like that. And I remember my favorite race is Savage Race. And they had, it was a low rig. And so it was like monkey bars, but on the bars were PVC pipes. So they would turn. And you've got to figure out how to get from one point to the other. But you've got to, you also had to consider, like, they're turning in different directions. And so you've got to make sure it was just a whole thing. So your brain is working really hard. And honestly, just rigs. I think that's probably the best answer, rigs. And it's just rigs, anything can hang from it. You could put anything on a rig. And like one of my favorite ones, the low rig that I did, it had all these ropes with like rings on it. So you had to maneuver, and you could use the rings for your feet and stuff, but it was a lot. I mean, it was just, I don't know. I like rigs. Like I have a really good, the last Savage Race that I did, I would always run with the pros. I mean, I think I'm a pro on the inside. But, when it comes to actual math, I'm not a pro the way they are. But when you run with the pros, you get the first chance at the course. So you get a fresher course, drier course. And I get to this one obstacle and everybody is there. Everybody is there. Whether it doesn't matter. If you went after the pros and you were faster than me, you're there. Okay. Everybody was stuck. And I get to it and I'm looking at it. I'm watching people go through it. And I'm like, right there, that's going to be my crux. That's going to be my crux because I see the system. And what it is I don't know. It's like a pulley system. If you hit it on one side, it's going to pull and you have to be prepared for it. It's a whole thing. I go through it. I get to that part. I fall. And I was like, I knew it. But what I learned is like I could skip it. I have a big enough span. I can get a big enough pull. I can skip it. So second time, I get all the way to the end, but the bell is up. So that means you've got to kick your feet up. I went to kick my feet and I missed the bell. And I did not anticipate missing the bell. And because I missed the bell, my brain function it was like it just went to mush after that. And I was super pissed because, man, I got through it after the second try and everybody is here. Okay. There's a girl that I know super fast, super strong. She's there, and so I had to kind of work up my my mental space to get over not hitting the bell. Cause I had to figure out why did I not hit the bell? Well, what it was is at the very end, it was a ring and I held onto the bottom. But if I held onto the top, it gave me 6 more inches up. So I tried it a third time. I got to that damn ring, got that bell, and I was out of there. Now listen, I was second place overall. So I'm telling you, I beat all the pros. There were only 2 women that came across that finish line with 100% obstacle completion, and I was one of them. I came in 40 minutes after first. 40 minutes, okay? Not 40. Okay, I walked that thing. I hate running. But that girl, I left her back there at that obstacle. And I look at her as strong, I know she's stronger than me in certain aspects. But not at that. Not at a rig, baby. Put me on a rig. Let me swing. Let me use my core. I'm good. I don't know. I like that stuff.
No, you're all pumped up about this. I love the energy and you explained it in all the hand gestures like you are in this. All right. How did you get to Puerto Rico or Costa Rica? Sorry.
No, it's Puerto Rico. No, you're good. You're Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico. Sí, sí, sí. Pero,
Puerto Rico.
So I came here. Okay. When we got married, we didn't do a honeymoon. And, at some point I was like, why don't we do a cruise? And we did a cruise. It was 5 years after we got married. So we did this cruise. And I found a cruise that started and stopped in Puerto Rico. And I was like, cool. I don't know anything about this place. But once I started kind of investigating all the different places we were going, I realized there was so much here. And, so we came here, but because you're here for the cruise, I mean, you're only in, Viejo San Juan, Old San Juan. That's where you're at. And, and that's nothing. That's El Yunque is here. The only national rainforest that we have in the United States is here in Puerto Rico, and that's, an hour away from Old San Juan. So, anyways, I wanted to come back. So we came back 2 years later. That was in 2015. We stayed here for a week. Half of the time is where I live now in Santurce, and we also spent the other time in Rincon, which is on the west side. And still, I was like, man, still so much to do here on the island. But it was 7 years before I came back. And I'd met someone who lived here, and I kind of was like, I'm going to take advantage of this. And I just booked a trip. And I was like, hey, so by the way, I booked a trip. I'm going to come to Puerto Rico. These are my dates. I was like, here, let me, I decided to ask for forgiveness instead of permission. And so, but then they weren't going to be here. And I was like, well, and I canceled it. I canceled everything. I canceled my flight. I canceled just everything, my car rental, everything. And then I kept thinking, like, well, what am I going to do with this time? Because I already asked for it off, like staycation. Is that what I'm going to do? And I had this realization that I did not cancel a trip. I canceled on myself. And so I was like, rebook the whole thing. And so I worked through it. I figured out a way to rebook everything. And so I decided just to do a completely solo trip. And at the time, I had a friend who knew somebody here. So I flew here, and I ended up meeting this guy, Cesar. And Cesar says, all right, I met him in a restaurant in Ponce, in the south of the island. And he's like, all right, let's park your car in a Walmart parking lot. And then I'm going to drive you to the top of a mountain, and we're going to go through the woods. And then we're going to get to like this little river. And then I'm going to teach you how to waterfall rappel. And we're going to do all of this at midnight. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I don't care.
That sounds like a Hallmark movie ending.
Well, and the thing is, let me also say, we did all the little stuff, okay? And then boom, 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 we get out of the forest, out of the woods, we're back at the car. And I even said to him, I was like, well, you didn't kill me back there, so I guess everything's all right, I was like, I mean, of all the things, like there's so many things that could have happened between here and now. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm okay. And but that next day, so we're out there, like hiking. We have to drive up to the top of this mountain, and we're hiking through. And honestly, it reminded me of obstacle course racing. Like I like that all of this kind of started the way that it did, because honestly, I don't always get to kind of connect this part of the story, but I think this is so important because it mattered to me. And this is all so wild. We were 4 people. 3 of the people, English was not their primary language. 2 of the people didn't speak English very well. Here we are in the mountain, no GPS. Like, I mean, it's just all like so many. Look, we could continue the movie story that we started in the beginning of this. So, we're out here and we're having to find our way to the river. Apparently there was a trail before, but the trail has been overgrown. And so we are literally like pushing our way through this. And as we were going through, everybody is falling but one person. And it, to me, is because of all the obstacle course training. I've been doing all this crap this whole time. I know how to keep my body upright. I know how to I need to change my feet like this, or now I'm going like this. Like it just, my body was constantly adapting to the situation. And I was like, man, if I lived here, I could do stuff like this like any day of the week. And that's when it was like, booping. Because when you do obstacle course racing, you have to wait for the weekend. You have to wait for this. You have to wait for that. And here I can be like, what are you doing on Saturday? What are you doing next week? And you can just go do this stuff. And here in Puerto Rico, look, if it seems sketchy, you are probably on the right path. Okay. If it seems sketchy, you are probably on the right path. And it is something where, let's go do some sketchy shit. Doo-dah. Like it truly, it's the way it is here. But it's one of those things, like you can look stuff up, and if you're brave enough to just try it, all of a sudden you find these magical spaces. And I mean, and I've done some stuff, like there's this pool. I've seen this pool, okay? It's a freshwater pool, and I've seen pictures of it. I've seen videos of it, and I'm like, I don't know where this is, but I want to go. Well, in 2024, we were going to have a hurricane come through here. And so everybody's in the hunker down moment. Everybody's like, we got to, the hurricane's coming within like less than 24 hours. And I had a buddy of mine, and he was like, you want to go take a ride? And I was like, okay. And so he took me to this place, and we're just hiking through the woods, and it's such an eerie thing because not a lot of people are out, and the energy, like you can feel it's kind of the quietness before it gets a little, wild, and we walk, and all of a sudden I find myself at this place, the videos I've seen, the pictures I've seen, and I'm like, I'm here. Like, I'm here. And what was really cool about that moment is, so again, it was just he and I. There's no way anybody else is going to show up. But I was not prepared for this moment. And I'm like, I don't have a bathing suit. What do I do? And I have like my sports bra. I have, some like tight shorts or whatever. But then I'm like, I don't really know how long our adventure is going to last. And I don't want to be in wet clothes. And so I had this moment where I was like, I'm going to be naked. And I'm announcing that I'm going to be naked. And I'm just telling just the one person that's here, but I'm announcing it for all that I'm going to be naked because I want to get in the water. And so it was really cool. It's the first time in my life, like I was just like naked in the world like that. And it was really, he was like, okay, cool. Then I'm getting naked too. And it was so neat because we were literally just two people in nature, and we were having conversations about whatever, just being naked. And again, here's this storm getting ready to come. And it was just like, whatever, it's cool. We're just chilling, and that was that. Like, and it's something where if anybody were to ask me, why do I live here? The blues and the greens, like the way that the green environment hits the blue of the sky, it does something for my soul. It does something for it's just like two plugs, and I just plug in and I charge, and it is everything for me. And it's moments like that. I've had some of the coolest experiences in my life, with something like that. Cause I think about, especially as like women, we're taught to kind of like be small. And I loved in that moment. I was just like, you know what? He and I did not have like an intimate relationship. Like we weren't on that level, but I also was just like, I'm just going to be who I am right here and right now, because I'm like, I wanted to get in that water so bad, and so I just did it. And it felt like I was breaking all of these rules. And I love that. Like, I'm very, anti-stigma. Like I said, I want mustard on my hot dog. And so I like when I find moments where I'm challenged and I have to make a decision. Like, how do I want to go about this? Like, would me go this way, or do I go based on how I feel? Because how I feel might actually not be the truth. It might just be catch-up talking in the background. And so it's, I love that I was just like, whatever.
So was it a big adjustment from coming from the States to go there for you? Or I heard Walmart parking lot, so it's not too different. I've never been there.
There's like what I fell in love with about Puerto Rico early on when I came here in 2023 is I felt like this is a place that I think anyone from the States should come to have a cultural experience where you don't have to make much effort to be here. You don't need a passport. You don't have to change your money. You literally can take your driver's license and you can take your US dollars and come here. And it's not even something like, I remember I went to the Bahamas as a kid, and you could use US dollars there, but it's completely different. Where here, it's a part of the system, and there are things that are here, like the Walmart, Costco, Sam's, stuff like that. It's here. So it's nice having conveniences that you're familiar with. It absolutely is a change. I mean, I think everything here is different. I don't think anything here is what I'm familiar with. You know, I mean, I could start and the ball would just keep rolling. Living in Puerto Rico, which is living on an island, that's all that I need to say. You're living on an island. And there's layers to it because it is Puerto Rico. But you have no choice but to adapt. Adaptation is a part of your lifestyle here. Being flexible is a part of your lifestyle here, and it happens every day, all the time, on a regular basis. You can look at the weather looks great, and it just starts pouring down rain. And it was just like, but it says sun, right? It is not sunny, but it says sun right here. You know, it is just something. Like a big thing I talk about is the grocery store. You can have this idea, all right, I'm going to go in and I'm going to get this thing. Like the rotisserie chicken. You walk in, man, no rotisserie chicken today. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to make my own chicken. So you have that, but then you're like, okay, I want arugula. But then you go, there's not arugula or spring mix or ba. Nah, it's just, it's just the lechuga is the word in Spanish, lechuga. So it's just like their lechuga, the whole wall. And you're like, oh, all right. So it's just lettuce, just regular lettuce. I didn't anticipate that, but okay. So it's even something as simple as that, it's constant adaptation. Also abundancy in the States. People in the States have no clue how privileged you are on a regular, every single day basis, okay? Because I think that my example is like a place like Whole Foods. I think Whole Foods is a really good example because you're going to have your organic zucchini, you're going to have your conventional zucchini, and now you're going to have your zucchini that comes from New Zealand. Or whatever. You're going to have like all these different, like, well, here's this, I don't know, just whatever. You're going to have so many different varieties of things. Where here it's like, nah, you just got this one zucchini. This is it. This is what you got. This is the only thing you have.
Might be ill squash tomorrow.
And it could be squashed tomorrow. And so it's something where you just have to you need to accept like what you have. Like there's an acceptance of what you have. And I think, maybe not all people are able to be that flexible. Like something that, for instance, like where I live, the street light, the stoplight was out for 7.5 months. That would never happen in the States. Okay. That would never happen in the States. But let me tell you something. Because see what happens, we know Karen. Karen is going to complain. Karen is going to have an opinion. But let me tell you what Karen doesn't know, that I know, because I got to experience this. Now, if the lights in the States went out, you've got somebody like, hey, we need to fix it. And they fix it, okay? But here, when the light is out, you go, I go. You go, I go. There's never traffic. There's never traffic. And then you know what they did? They came and fixed it. That was the worst decision ever. Now there's traffic all the time, and it just like there was this community, like, it's just like you go and I go and you go and I go. And when the light is on, it stacks up and then it flows and it stacks up and it flows. And it just simply because things don't work the same here as they do there. You don't get to see things like that. And I feel like it's cool that I've had those kind of experiences. Another thing I talk about, like the drinking culture. Okay, in the States, we're very strong, like heavy and like cracking down on drinking and driving. Here, like, it'd be like, hey, you want to go to the gas station? And you go get a little gas station beer. You just hang out outside, drink a little beer with your buddy. And then, you go home. Now, you would do that in the States. But what you can't do in the States is like, all right, I'm going to take the beer with me and I'm going to leave with the beer with me. You can do your drinks to go. And I'm not saying it's about drinking and driving. I think it's more, what I appreciate is if I go to a restaurant and I buy a drink and I'm like, oh, we're leaving, you're going to down the whole thing. Okay. What is worse? Walking away with it in your hand and you may never even touch it again, because there's plenty of times I've left and the drink makes it to my house and I'm like, oh, I have a drink right here. This is fun. I'm like, I completely forgot, because you focus on driving. I'm not thinking about my drink anymore. But if I'm there at the restaurant and I chug the drink, I may have an effect from having that drink and having it really fast. And so it's something where even things like that, like my mentality has really altered, has really changed. I'm like, oh, I don't really see it as that. It's not drinking and driving is not allowed here. So I want to make sure I'm really clear on that. There is an acceptance of carrying the beverage. I need to say it that way. There's an acceptance of carrying the beverage. And it just, I don't know. I like that culture.
It sounds to me like you just we set rules and they're black and white, and there you just have lots of gray and accommodations to daily life and
absolutely
the currents. So, and that fits you. That is from the ketchup and mustard of the hot dog analogy again. You get to experience these different avenues of the same rules, but in a different way. It sounds
100%. And I think for me, living here, I came here with the idea that I would have to adapt. I would have to adjust to a lot of things that were unfamiliar for me. And so, I didn't want to be like, well, in the States, we do it like this. Because we're a part, we're a territory, but I'm not in the States. This is not North Carolina, okay? It doesn't work the same. It doesn't function the same. And, I think it's important that I recognize and I acknowledge where I am, versus asking the environment to adjust with me. I need to adjust to the environment. Yeah.
So, words of wisdom to finish out your story. Is there anything are you known for saying something, or you got a last thought, or someone out there who's thinking about taking a leap and moving into I'm not a foreign country.
Okay, so I feel like this is a heavy question, not a heavy question, but this is you could answer this with anything. I think this is going to be so generic. Just do it.
No, that's $1 billion company.
I say that it's funny. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh, well, that's what comes to my mind. But if I tell you to be brave, just do it. If you want to try something, just do it. Nothing is stopping you other than you. The only thing the only wall that you have is the wall that you put in front of yourself. And, I get the quote that I like is the journey of 1,000 miles always starts with the first step. And a thing that I say to people too, if I tell you, hey, we're going to work on handstands today, and you never work on handstands, do you think you're going to do this beautiful long handstand? No, of course you don't. And so it's just about the journey. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, so you're going to get one hand down and the second hand down.
It's the journey.
As far as you got, this right 2 steps.
See, this is where this is a loaded question, because I could keep going. Fail means first attempt at learning. Fail in your life. Believe in fail. Okay, here we go. So when I decided to move here, the language that was in my head is, we say, what's the worst that could happen? And I kept saying, what's the best that could happen? What's the best that could happen? If I decide to move here, what's the best that could happen? And as I'm waterfall rappelling, all of this stuff is going through my mind. And I had this idea, and I was like, you know what? if I come here and I go back to the States, I believed I could succeed. My first step was I believed I could succeed. So even if the worst that would happen is I go back, it was built on success. It was built on the idea that I'm like, well, why not just do it? I could fail. I could completely fail. But if I fail, it's just because I believed. And like, taking the time to believe in anything that feels good to you, interestingly, is really hard. And then when you actually do it, it's so rewarding. And you know, I will always be grateful to the version of me that was walking out there, going down the mountain, like, that just was like, I don't know, why not? And why not turned into me sitting in this blue chair, and the journey never starts just because of the idea. I mean, you have to put power to it. So
I agree. All right, so I'm booking my ticket and booking my car, and I'll let you know, and I'll ask for forgiveness is what I learned.
that's fine.
I'll see you
Sometimes
soon.
sometimes you have to ask for forgiveness instead of permission. But this is where I'll tell you, if you do rent the car, good luck on the driving. Now, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with it, but it's something where, like, be ready. The Puerto Ricans, they drive spicy. I like it. I like it. I'm very, yeah, I don't mind because I love driving out here, but I realize not everybody does. So.
Well, I am so glad we caught up today. Thank you for being on here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I
Thank you for having me.
cannot wait to see the next adventure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.